All right, I'm live here. All right. Let's see. Live. JML 1025. Let me get this situated, y'all, and then we can get started. Give me a second. All right, good. Checking connection. We're good to go. All right, cool. Let me pull up my slides. Greetings, everybody. This is Professor Kojo Shishabaz in the building, and this is JML 1025 for Tribal Jurist Certification under the Aboriginal University. We usually do the intro and also cover a little bit of the subject matter for the first class, just so that just kind of gives an idea to the public of just kind of what we do, and just kind of if they want to actually enroll into the actual certification under Aboriginal University, they can actually have the opportunity to do so. So let me share this on the screen. And then for the students that are here, I see y'all. Just know that once I actually end the stream, then I'll let y'all guys come up, and then you guys can ask questions and stuff like that if something of the material doesn't make sense. So slides, share my screen. Let's see. Shrink this a little bit. Shrink this down a little bit. Dope. Cool. Y'all can see the screen, right? All right, cool. Let me make sure. Good to go. All right, bet. There we go. All right. So you should have received your syllabus. It should have came through your email, and you'll see that the meeting times for classes can be Wednesday and also Saturday with the specific times. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then on Saturdays 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, right? So, and then you can see that if you want to schedule some time for office hours with me, you can see that the office hours are on Sunday 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. But you gotta just schedule it. So that's why I put the link in your syllabus, right? And then these are the materials you should have received. You should have received the manual, the Legal Maestro manual, the Aboriginal Moorish book by Chief Ali, the HARNA Protocol Manual, as well as the Black's Law Dictionary, the Law Dictionary Oxford, Law Master's book, and as well as the links and stuff like that from previous videos that we've done. So, who is that? I'm not sure who that is, so I'll just wait. Hopefully that makes sense. And then I know you're like, well, why is the syllabus? What is the goal? What is the purpose of having the syllabus? I'm not sure why that's there. So let me delete that. There you go. What's the purpose? What's the goal? Will you get a certificate? Yes, you'll get a certificate. Opportunities for partnership with either Shabazz Associates or other law firms that once they've seen that you've gone through the certification at Aboriginal University, you have the opportunity to get hands-on experience. We'll do some mock examples and how to actually handle some of those scenarios, right? And we'll go over some of those things, as well as access to like discount for the software that we are actually getting ready to release. We have already released one version of it, but we are also getting ready to release an AI version as well that could be helpful. That's privatized. That you don't have to worry about internet connection and stuff like that. That's something that we built in house. So again, these are the things you're going to need. You're also going to need Google. You need to be able to critically think as well as problem solve, because that's really the key thing when you're operating as a jurist, a tribal jurist within our jurisdiction. You need to be able to think, critically solve problems, and work together with other people, right? So these are the things you get. You should have these. If not, obviously send me an email. And then these are the homework and quiz for today. So there will be homework and there will be a quiz. So this is the reading that you'll do out of the Legal Maestro manual, sections 1 through 6 of the book. And then you'll read 1 through 20 of the protocol manual as well. And then you should already have the homework link, which is in your syllabus. And I'm not going to post the link because, again, this was a public class that I was recording. So, but you should already have that. But if you don't, if you didn't see that syllabus, let me know. Put it in the chat. Should be good to go. Okay. And then just as for those who they're curious about enrollment at AAU, there's different professors that are obviously teaching the subject. So you can obviously enroll at AAU at any time. But if you want to enroll and you want to have me as your professor at AAU, just go to shabazassociates.com and you can get that squared away. All right. So Aboriginal jurists. This is something that I need y'all to understand for new students. Aboriginal jurists will serve the ARNA community as well as the IPA community, right? Because of what you guys are doing here, you're going to be bringing denationalized African Americans, Black Americans, so-called Negro, into our plebiscite or / jurisdiction to get them under a correct political status. And so you're going to have to educate them as they're going through this journey. So it's very important to read everything that you're getting ready to embark on as a tribal jurist. So that's why it's very, very, very important to just kind of don't be lazy at this. And we'll talk about just some of the mindsets that you need to have. But basically, jurist is one that is skilled or versed in law, right? So that's pretty simple. So jurisdiction. So jurisdiction, someone who can communicate law within that jurisdiction, right? That's essentially what you're going to be as a jurist. You're going to be skilled and versed at law. So this class is going to be I'm going to push y'all to the test. I'm going to put a lot of pressure because we have a lot of work to do. And this is not something that, either you want to put in the work or you don't want to put the work in, right? All right. So I'm going to kind of talk through the scenario just because this is a public class, but in the future for students, I'm going to ask y'all to actually, how would you handle this scenario? And I can even ask the chat too if they want to chime in or whatever, but here's an example of what you may come across being a tribal jurist in Arnhem, right? So a family comes up to you, they have a scenario where the child was removed from their house because of CPS and a court order. So in your mind, you're like, okay, you have to ask the question, what really happened? Because what you just told me was not enough information. And most of the time what will happen is that people will not give you enough information. So you have to collect that information. So you never assume, you never jump to conclusions, you always collect data until you have enough to come up with a reasonable conclusion of what occurred. But you need that information. So your mindset should always be, okay, I need to be collecting as much data as possible, right? So that's the key thing, is to collect data. That's the first thing. So are they a national? If they're not even a national, okay, they're going to be in a whole different bracket. Okay, but if they are a national, let's say the parents are nationals, okay, that's great. Is your child nationalized? If they're not nationalized, you're like, okay, why not? Because children 12 and under are free. So that's another thing that you'll understand, is that children under 12 are free to be nationalized within ARNA. And so you have to ask these questions. And then, what is that going on? Sorry, y'all. Looks like it. Looks like it. Okay. Sorry. Get that squared away. So you need to be able to like, okay, so I collect the data, I ask questions. Okay, now what do I do? So one thing you could probably do is maybe get that child nationalized, even though the situation has already occurred, that they've been removed by CPS. It's just I'm giving you a fictional scenario, right? And then you got to figure out, okay, what did they do that CPS is charging them with? Okay, now we have to go down that path of addressing those issues with CPS to be compliant, because now they've stepped in and they have jurisdiction by taking and removing the child. So now they're asking you to come to court. What you'll find out is some people don't want to go to court, or they don't show up to the hearing, and so therefore they're in default, and therefore they're losing, and then it just makes the scenario that much worse. And so it's very important to you have to understand and collect that data too, because if you find out that they did not show up to a hearing, well then you're already at a deficit. Now you have to rethink the strategy. So what I want you to get in the mindset and the habit of is to ask questions, collect data, and then you'll draft up a report of your findings and stuff like that. And maybe you may need to counsel with a senior jurist or somebody who's had experience dealing with these matters, and that's perfectly fine, right? So hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's talk about the mindset of a jurist. You can't be lazy. I'm telling you, you cannot be lazy. Like we talked about in the previous scenario, you need to ask questions, and you need to be able to do legal research. What do I mean by you need to be able to do legal research? Well, in this course, you'll be directed to certain links that can help you with legal research. There's certain things that you need to get access to, so that way it makes your research that much more easier to deal with. So that's why we keep telling people, or we keep telling jurists, make sure that you have all your places of sources that you can get legal research done. You need to be able to use technology. What do I mean by that? You need to be able to use a laptop. You need to be able to use your phone. You need to be able to work with other systems of different venues to get things done. Because when you're doing, let's say, for example, when you complete this course, you'll be able to do tax-exempt business registrations for nationals and non-nationals. So you need to be able to utilize the websites that we utilize to get those things done and created for those people or your clients or your customers. Does that make sense? So you know, you're going to be utilizing Google Forms, so you need to be comfortable being able to utilize these different forms of technology. You need to be able to utilize a website, having your own website. That's going to be some of the things that we'll talk about within this course. So you get the idea. You need to be able to critically think about the situation or scenarios that you're going to be coming across as a tribal jurist, right? And you need to be able to discern from people and their stories that they'll tell you. Because sometimes what will happen is that people will tell you a one-sided story, and you need to be able to not be emotional and to be able to investigate, collect the data. You may know that person, and you want to be on their side, but you can't look at it that way. You have to discern what is happening and then handle the situation how it needs to be handled. Take the basics that you're given, that you will be given, the foundation, and you're going to have to build on top of it. So I could give you all the tools, the documentation, the books, the sources, and everything that you can do as a tribal jurist. But if you don't build on top of it, meaning utilizing it, getting some customers, helping people through nationalization process, whether it be ARNA or the IPA, doing business registrations. And this is why, like, working with some of the senior jurists will help kind of guide you through that process. So that way you're not going out there like, ooh, I don't know what to do. And then we have the think tanks and stuff like that. We just had one today, right? So these are the things that you're going to be admitted into, right? If you pass the exam and stuff like that. So there's like ongoing learning. And you just need to learn to work with your peers. Some people, you got to be able to work with other people. If I could tell anything about just being a jurist or just a person in general, you need to be able to work with people. Like, to have a bad attitude or just a disrespectful tone with talking to people is not going to go well, and people will talk about it. And that will affect your ability to retain or get new clients because of how you're treating them, how you're processing them, and things of that nature. It's very, very important. Professionalism is basically what I'm like speaking to you. So be able to work with your peers, be able to work with your customers, be professional with them, talk respectfully to them. If they start getting out of hand, you need to remove yourself. Say, hey, listen, and I give you a scenario. This is a real scenario. Somebody came to the website. Um, they came to my Jurist website, and they bought IDs, like tax exempt IDs and member IDs. I didn't recognize the name in general. And so when I reached out, I said, hey, are you even a national? They was like, hey, where's my IDs? And I was like, oh, you know what I'm about to do? I'm about to return your money because you've confirmed that you're definitely not a national. So I returned that money immediately. Even sent him the screenshots. You've been refunded. We are no longer doing business. We have no need. We don't have anything to do with you. Your money should come in 10 to 15 business days. He was going back and forth in the email like, I don't see the money. Is this how you treat people? Yeah, I understand you and your kind. You guys are elite, and you can't do anything with my $80 and stuff like this. This is a real scenario that happened last week, and I'm telling you, this is some of the stuff that you need to be prepared for as a tribal jurist and as a business owner. When you're going to be operating your business operations is key. If you notice that somebody has signed up for something, I give you another example. A national who's new, you just nationalized them, and then they went ahead and filled out an intake for a tribal driver's license, and then they bought it. Let's say you were level 2 and stuff like that after a while. Well, what's going to happen is that you're going to have to refund them back because they have to be within ARNA for 6 months to a year before they can get a tribal driver's license. You see what I'm saying? So you need to be able to refund that person's money. You don't keep that money, you refund it, right? So, and then we just want y'all to be the best. I guess this quite didn't really update, but maybe this is the old one, but we'll just deal with it. I'll just tribal jurors. So we want y'all to be tribal lawyers, tribal jurists in our jurisdiction, and we want y'all to be the best at the end of the day. We want y'all to keep stacking, keep building, keep getting better, keep reading, keep executing, and get familiar, get comfortable with these processes. Because people are going to come to you, and they're going to want to know, how does this work? And we need y'all to be able to explain it in an educated way, right? So hopefully that makes sense. All right. Here's some things that you want to get familiar with. These are terms that colonizers have used against Black Americans, right? They've called them African. They've called them African Americans. They've called them the Negro. They called them Moors. They called them Blacks. They call all types of names. These are terms of denationalization, right? And we'll go over that as far as in the next class, but you got to understand the history. And so we'll talk a little bit about the history, right? So a lot of Black Americans have been displaced, basically being told that they come from somewhere else where they didn't. People have been told that they come from Africa. They're like, man, my lineage has never even left North America at all. So if you think about the word Africa, right, it comes from the Roman jurisdiction, and you can see it right here in the right-hand side of my screen where it says Africa Nova, Africa Vitus, all these names named after a deity, right? A Roman goddess, right? White Roman goddess, to be clear, right? And you can see it right here in the image right here, right? And then the term pan, right? Because, people be like, oh, yeah, peace, y'all. Peace. Y'all in the building. Peace, y'all. Peace. And people want to be like, oh, I'm Pan-African, right? Pan-African, huh? Or do you even know the root word pan? Homosexual Greco-Roman deity, right? Doing debaucherous things. So that's the thing, right? Okay, y'all in the building. Peace, y'all. Peace. Just in case y'all want to see what's on the screen, again, it's on YouTube. This is just kind of the intro for new students and stuff like that. So if it, that's like making sense to everybody, right? So this is just kind of a close-in screenshot. You see it on the coin right here and stuff like that. All right. So one of the big things that most people have to understand is that you have the ability to self-identify and claim your own nationality, right? Under the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15. Number one, everyone has the right to a nationality, period. And the problem is we've allowed a small group of people to tell the rest of the world who they are. And I'm about to show you, I'll show you at the end of class, a clip of them, a specific group of people, the French, doing that exact same thing or trying to strip a group of their nationality in 2024. And I'll show you that clip at the end. But the point is that no one can be deprived of that, even though that's what's happening in North America. And actually, just kind of globally in general. So we get caught up in these words. So, a lot of people get, they were like, oh, I'm Pan-African, right? Red, blue, red, green, red, or black, excuse me, red, green, and black. You got to understand. Fiction law, a fiction of law. Something known to be false, assumed to be true. Right? So why they called you these colloquial terms, and you understand that the Pan-African was started by 7 white colonizers, right? So you gotta pay attention to these things. All right. Some people have dual lineage as well. So you gotta understand that there were some people who were in the Americas that were sent all over the globe. And that is the truth. Oh, what's going on? Okay, I'll deal with that right now. So those are some of the things that we'll talk about in class as we progress and go into the subjects. But you just got to understand that as well. So how did we end up here? Colonizers of all kinds distorted the facts of history, and that is really the issue. Is that they told people, yeah, man, we've always been here. Actually, we've always been the ones that enslaved you, and we started this country. Blah blah blah. Nobody was here, really. And they just basically took your nationality, denationalized the true Aboriginals here, not the Native Americans, which I'll show you a picture of. And they just kind of appropriated the true Aboriginals. So you can see with the treaties that have been here, most of these treaties weren't honored and resulted in land being stripped from the tribal people that were here already, the true Aboriginals, right? And you'll have to deal with some of those scenarios where you're going to be helping people who have lost their land. And so you need to be able to be, okay, you need to understand the laws. You need to know, okay, how do I navigate? Where do I go? Where do I find the research? Who can I work with and stuff like that? And, it gets you to think outside the box. Okay, we can maybe take this and transfer before it gets stripped from here, because it'll be in our jurisdiction where it's protected and stuff like that. You'll learn all that stuff in this course. Here's an example of people just rewriting history. I don't know if anyone's heard of this person, Lewis Howard Latimer, but he was an Aboriginal that was the creator of the light bulb, not Thomas Edison. Even though most people think that Thomas Edison created the light bulb. All right. So here's some examples of issues where you have African countries telling specific folks that, hey, that you're not African enough, right? So this is what's happening. Like, so you have these situations where these groups of people are telling Aboriginals who they are and confusing the whole identity, and that creates an identity crisis. But people are waking up, people are understanding, they already know what they need to do, and they're starting to come to the information, and that's the important part. All right, so let's just kind of talk about some of the legal definitions that you kind of want to see. Look what it says. Blacks, but not Hispanic origin. A person having origin in any of the Black racial groups of Africa. Why is that their legal definition? Because that is the narrative that they're constructing. And that's what keeps people basically in a state where they're not even They're not even a real person. They're basically a 14th Amendment second-class subject citizen, and they have no rights. Look at where this is LII, Legal Information Institute. This is the definition. Now look at the American Indian. A person having origins of any of the original peoples of North America and who maintain cultural identification through tribal affiliation or community recognition. See, you see how they kind of like they tweak that definition, like, but they're basically talking about you. They're talking about Black Americans that this is how they classify. But most people don't think that. So just need y'all to like really just understand that, right? And you'll have the opportunity to, as we go into this course, really see all this stuff. But definitions, key. All right, here's something that Brother Isa had put me on. I thought this was very interesting, and you'll have to use like legal journals as maybe as part of a particular defense if a particular situation arises between for a national, right? Let's say they're working some type of job in the U.S. jurisdiction, and they have an issue. I don't want to talk about it before this video get deleted, but I'll talk about it offline with the students. But Blackness as a disability. This is a legal journal, y'all. So I'm just sharing this stuff, right? All right, 14th Amendment. Let's just read it real briefly. I'll focus on some of the things why people don't want to be a 14th Amendment citizen, but they choose to. Watch. The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts occur for payment of pension and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection of rebellion shall not be questioned. That means you slaves cannot be questioning what they do with the money supply, which they're inflating that thing to the freaking moon. It's unbelievable how much money they're sending over to Ukraine and all these different places. Israel, like billions of dollars, and those taxpayers, right? You, 14th Amendment citizens, paying tax dollars. You're funding your own demise, right? But the real thing that I want you to like really, really hone in on, and we'll talk about it. Let me see if we talk about it on the next page. Yeah. So negotiation and subject to rescission. So negotiation is effective even from an infant. So even if ignorance of the law is no excuse, is what I need you to understand as a tribal jurist. You cannot say literally in a legal situation, I did not know that this was a law. That's unacceptable. That's just like you saying the same thing when you're in ARNA and you're operating and you're like, I did not know that was a law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. It's literally never been, it'll never ever work in court. Nowhere. So, but they say that it's effective to get, to pull fraud, to pull theft, to pull like duress, which those are 10 real defenses. If those things occur, those are real legal defenses, right? So you'll be utilizing the Uniform Commercial Code for different areas, depending on the different situations. But fundamentally, you need to understand the history of the true Aboriginals of North America, what has happened to them, and how to remedy the situation. And just the operations of what ARNA is, what ARNA is not. You'll learn all that stuff within this course too. So, all right. This is what they're telling the world that the misnomer Native Americans are. Like, look at this. Like, look at this. This is who they say is the true Native Americans, where actually they're Eurasians, right? They're not even from here. But this is what they pale as a ghost. But this is who they say that was here at the very beginning. So this is what I'm telling you is that this is how the game works. They flip it and reverse it, and they tell you actually are for somewhere else, and you need to go over there And some of those countries, when you go over there, you show up, they're like, who are you? Why are you here? You go to Africa, they say, in some of the countries, they'll say that. You go to Jamaica, they'll say some of these stuff, but you're actually from here. Like, you haven't been anywhere else in North America. So your lineage is here. So that's what you got to be able to understand and do the research and stuff like that, right? Black Americans. I know some of y'all have heard that, your family was like, yeah, baby, your grandma was an Indian. And, some of y'all may have like, mama, you tripping. Like, that ain't, grandma was an Indian, like, doing the whoo. Right. So, and then some of the things you got to understand is that some of the oldest living tree is in North America, not Africa, right? And the oldest school is from North America and not Africa, right? So this is some of the stuff that most people don't know. So you got to understand the history and how we got here. We got here. The history is that you let somebody else who was enslaved way more than the actual group of Aboriginals, but they don't never tell that side of the story. They never tell that part of the history that whites were actually the largest group of people to be enslaved, but they never talk about it. They always talk about, we here to get, what's ours, and, hey, we don't have no sympathy for none of this that happened to Black Americans. Matter of fact, they're like, why is y'all even complaining? So anyway, just kind of keep this stuff in mind. All right, some of the stuff that is like really fundamental is the Dred Scott case, right? The issue with the Dred Scott case is the political term Negro, the political term African, the issue of the descendants being imported into this country as property or being descendants of slaves. Can these groups of people be citizens of the United States? And it was determined no, at all. So I remember talking to a politician that was a Democrat, probably earlier this year. Came to my parents' house, and he was like, "Hey man, I need you to vote for me." And I was like, "For what?" He was like, "Yeah, because I'm running for senator and da 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 da." I was like, "Oh man, that's cool." And I asked him, I said, "So what you think about the Dred Scott case?" He was like, "What do you mean?" And he was a lawyer. He was like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "You're familiar with the Dred Scott case, right?" He was like, "I am. But what are you talking about?" I said, "Well, remember how it states that Africans and their so-called descendants cannot and will never be considered citizens of the United States." He was like, "Yeah, that was the darkest thing I ever seen in the Constitution and just in law school." And I was like, "So how are you going to address that?" And he was like, "Honestly, I don't have an answer." And I said, "Oh, that's too bad, man." I said, "But I'll take your cell phone number. Maybe we can, maybe there's something later down the road that you can help, help us with, right?" No. Nah, I didn't. So yeah, I just, you find the stuff when you're dealing with people that this is the stuff. So listen, here's the fact, right? We are not and have never been politically or racially Negroes. This is a genocide term. You gotta understand, these are genocide terms, right? And acts of denationalization, right? The number that they're talking about with the Atlantic slave trade that was brought over here, falsified, right? It was not in that quantity, right? Most people were not imported. Already Aboriginals were here in North America, right? So you got to understand that historically and politically, the Aboriginal lineage is from the oldest American, which is the she misnamed Olmec, right? And there's various indigenous Western tribes and stuff like that, right? So you'll learn about this stuff too within this course, right? So here's something else that you should be kind of aware of, right? During the Lewis and Clark documented everything in sight, right? So the plants, the rocks, everything, people. But here's what they documented, right? They said the red man or the white man, right? The black bushy-headed Washitas. Now, please explain why history did not make everybody aware of this? It's because, again, they want you to take this narrative that you're from somewhere else, you're not from here, and they want you to go somewhere else so that they continue to take over this place, right? They've allowed other people to buy out the land and property and stuff like that. Bill Gates is buying bajillions about amounts of land. Chinese is like, it's crazy, right? So anyway, where are we going? I know you're like, damn, Coach, it's about 35 minutes. I know y'all. But I promise you, you're going to want to know all this stuff. You're going to read about this stuff too, right? And we're going to quiz. We're going to keep pushing you. So people who remain the status of Negro, African Americans, blacks, will eventually be wiped out. And why do I say wiped out? Because, again, like we talked about, those are genocidal terms, denationalization terms that they put you to, like, yeah, be a slave and do as we say, or we'll give you something to take you out, which this is what they did, right, in 2020. We all know what that is. I don't have to bring it up. People who are choosing to be independent, meaning they don't want to work with nobody. Let's just take a step back, right? Imagine, oh, peace, you in the building. Peace. Imagine this, right? They say that I can do this all by myself. I don't need nobody. Imagine your body saying, I don't need the cell to carry out the task of, pushing the blood somewhere else. You know what will happen to your body? Your body will fall apart. Your body will be discombobulated. Like, it'll be like, wait, we don't know which way to go. Nobody wants to work with each other harmoniously. None of that stuff. Your body will die. So the same thing goes with being in a tribal jurisdiction, being a tribal lawyer, working with your fellow tribal lawyer members or tribal jurists. You need to learn to work together harmoniously. This is how people become more intelligent, which is why we do think tanks, which is why you'll be admitted to the think tank, and then there'll be quizzes after that just to keep you up to par, up to snuff, that you're understanding and you're retaining the material, which is why there's quizzes and stuff like that in this class as well, right? So understand that. And then people in honor of the IPA who continue to start families and gain skills and work on the same code will win at the end of the day. That's what's happening. So you see what's going on with the political hoorah. You vote for, I can't even say that name because I'll get a strike. You vote for this person and then you'll go, I guarantee the genocidal acts will increase with the Democratic Party, right? So you will be wiped out, right? So that's why you have to understand stuff, right? And you'll learn all this stuff. So jurisdiction is the key. That's the one thing I want you to understand, is that the jurisdiction is key. If you don't understand jurisdiction, you'll find out that you will put yourself in a situation, or you'll find out that nationals or people you're working with will put themselves in a situation. I'll give you an example. I got a phone call on Saturday. I won't say the school, but it's a school in Oklahoma City, right? This brother called me about, like, yeah, such and such happened to my son. And I was like, okay, you volunteered them at that school? I know that school because I used to run track against them. And I said, you willingly enrolled your son into that school? They were like, yeah. And I'm like, man, well, again, jurisdiction. So you're subjecting your child to whatever BS happens at that school. And I won't talk about the rest of the details, but basically there was a big situation and it involves his son. And he's like, what can I do to protect my son from this? And I'm like, one thing is you can do is not enroll your son in these public schools. Start homeschooling. Nationalize yourself and nationalize your son. Remove yourself from that situation. Maybe start, it's just, and again, there's different types of jurisdiction, right? So you got subject matter jurisdiction. That was an example of subject matter jurisdiction. Original jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction, personal jurisdiction, concurrent jurisdiction, appellate jurisdiction. So there's many types of jurisdiction but the key thing is you need to understand jurisdiction. So tribal jurisdiction and U.S. jurisdiction. So there's only two types of governments. on North America, and that's the United States and tribal, nothing else, right? So you got to understand that these are the things that you're going to be dealing with. So it's much more than just, okay, yeah, I need to get this person nationalized. Okay, I need to help them remove their debt. I need to help them create a business, a tribal business. Like, yo, that stuff is very important. But fundamentally, you need to understand the laws. You need to understand how certain things impact you, impact other families, so that way you can explain it effectively how it actually works, right? So hopefully that makes sense. All right. Jurisdiction is the key, like I keep saying. Throughout human history, slavery has been implemented against many nations in various different forms. The main point that I'm trying to illustrate is that Black Americans have been given a false belief. They've been given a false narrative. They've been denationalized, they've lost their identity, and suffer acts of genocide. But nobody wants to acknowledge that as an issue. Like I told you earlier, whites were brought here as slaves by Moors. And but they never talk about it. So, like I said, the big key thing is jurisdiction is key. And we have to protect everybody. We have to protect our families. We have to protect our economics, all that stuff. But jurisdiction is key. So if you understand that, okay, if I'm part of a body politic that's a tribal government, that Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 states that Indians and their property can't be taxed, then it's like, why would you? And then if you definitely meet and qualify for the just solely just sanguineous within ARNA, why wouldn't you claim your nationality? Why wouldn't you correct your political status? Because that is the main issue. All right, so here's like an example scenario, and we'll wrap it up for the public. But again, if you want to find out more, just you want to enroll at Aboriginal University, or if you want to have me as your professor, it doesn't matter. We just need more people who are willing to do the work as jurists. So a scenario: you're a wife of a national calls you and states that they have been abused, and they have suspect that their husband is a pedophile. Crazy, right? Now, this situation as a jurist, you're like, man, I don't know how to handle that fucking situation. That is a real situation that occurred, y'all. But here's the thing. The person, the wife of that national, was making that stuff up. Really didn't happen. Wasn't abused. The husband's not a pedophile. She was doing all that because she was exposed of being caught not being loyal and cheating on the husband. And the husband was like, you need to get out. And so she tried to create this narrative. So it goes back to what I was telling you, that these institutions, these groups of people are creating narratives to spin the story in their favor. So you collect the information. First collect the information. You're like, did that really happen? You're like, okay, I'm just taking notes. You take notes. You talk to the husband. You take notes. You collect data. You talk to somebody who knows knows one of them, right? Get some intelligence on that and say, hey, this sounds like a real scenario that this person would do. And then, you just ask for the proof. Okay. This person claimed that they had proof, but it's like, in my mind, I was like, where's the proof? Can you show me? You said you had. The person said that they were a national. And I was like, okay, send me your ID. They never sent the ID. Because they weren't a national. So, yeah, that's a real scenario. So you just need to be able to stay calm. I know you're like, damn, I thought we were just doing nationality, business registration, debt discharge, and then a couple of law, other stuff here and there. Listen, I'm just trying to get y'all's mind and get your stuff geared up for the BS and situations that will occur. Like, you'll have these institutions try to impose on our people, and we got to be able to defend against that. That's the real thing. And it will happen to you too. So you want to be able to know how to effectively communicate and how to resolve these situations, right? All right. So here's a clip that I'm going to play for y'all, right? And let me see if I can like better position myself. Yeah. Okay. Let me see how I zoom in. All right. I'm going to let y'all just read the subtitles. Read the subtitles, y'all.
Déchus de leur nationalité et expulsés.
Look at what she said. Hold on. Binationals connected to Islamic ideology must be stripped of what? Their nationality and expelled. Listen, this is in 2024. The French is talking like this. Listen, I'll play it. Binationals connected to Islamic ideology must be stripped of what? Their nationality and be expelled. Woo! Look. This is a French person talking like this. This is what I'm telling you is like, you think that, oh man, they ain't never did nothing like that. Like they never stripped Black Americans of their nationality. Look, this is happening in France. You see, what I mean by like this is a occurring problem. A small group of people want to remove a large portion of indigenous people's nationality and then spin a narrative, tell their history, say, yeah, this is what they were doing. I can't even believe this is even on the internet. This happened this year. So anyway, you get the point, right? All right. So for students that are enrolled in the course, again, your homework assignment is to read legal maestro manual, sections 1 through 6 of the book. Also read pages 1 through 20 of the protocol manual, the ARNA protocol manual. Let me put that in the thing just to make sure there ain't no confusion. ARNA protocol manual. And then the homework link was in your syllabus, so you should be able to see that in class 1, right? So it should be just right underneath it, right? And remember what we talked about. If you had any questions or situations, just schedule it, during office hours, like we talked about, right? So I'm gonna end the live for the public, but thanks for everyone tuning in. And again, if you want to enroll at Aboriginal University, reach out. If you want me to have you want to have me as your professor, definitely reach out. Go to the website and at shabazassociates.com. Definitely help you. Again, appreciate your time and attention, and we are out. IG, we'll see you next time for class. And then YouTube, Facebook, we are out, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.